Hello friends, and welcome to the Forgotten Past. On this channel, you'll explore untold stories, lost events, ancient discoveries, and hidden secrets from across history. Let's view the video. For centuries, the Roman Empire stood as the most feared and organized military power on Earth. Its legions marched across Europe, crushing kingdoms and tribes with ruthless efficiency. But in the dark, misty forests of Germania, Rome's confidence would be shattered like never before. The Roman legions were the backbone of the empire's dominance. Trained, disciplined, and equipped with superior weapons, they conquered vast lands from the deserts of North Africa to the shores of Britain. Their reputation for invincibility struck fear into every enemy they faced. Roman military organization was unmatched. Legionaries fought in precise formations, with tightly packed shields and short swords designed for brutal, close combat. The testudo formation alone could break enemy lines, while Rome's engineers built roads and forts to secure every conquest permanently. Emperor Augustus believed his empire was destined to civilize and control all of Europe. Germania, the wild, forested region beyond the Rhine, was seen as the next jewel in Rome's growing crown. But the empire underestimated the people and the land they sought to dominate. The Germanic tribes were fiercely independent and expert warriors. Though lacking Rome's discipline, they knew the forests, rivers, and swamps like the back of their hands. To the Romans, they appeared as disorganized savages, but that arrogance would soon cost them dearly. As Roman forces pushed deeper into Germania, they built roads, established forts, and collected tribute. The Roman governor, Publius Quinctilius Varus, was confident that the Germanic tribes were subdued. Little did he realize that beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. At the heart of this coming storm was a man who knew both Rome and Germania intimately, Arminius. A trained Roman officer and son of a Germanic chief, he would soon orchestrate Rome's greatest military humiliation. The lands beyond the Rhine River were a vast wilderness of dense forests, marshes, and winding rivers. To the Romans, this was untamed territory, home to tribes they saw as primitive. Yet, beneath the surface, these forests concealed both natural dangers and fierce, determined resistance. Germania was not a unified nation but a patchwork of tribes like the Cherusci, Bructeri, and Chatti. Constantly at odds with one another, their only unifying trait was hatred for foreign conquerors. Rome's attempts to pacify and control them would prove far more difficult than expected. The terrain of Germania favored the tribes. Thick forests blocked visibility, muddy swamps trapped soldiers, and the winding rivers created natural barriers. Roman legions, accustomed to open battlefields, found themselves disoriented in these unfamiliar, hostile environments. Despite these challenges, Roman officials believed Germania could be brought under control. Governor Varus imposed taxes, built forts, and introduced Roman laws. He saw these measures as civilization, but to the tribes, it was oppression and humiliation that stoked the fires of rebellion. Tensions simmered beneath a fragile peace. Roman merchants traded with the tribes, Roman soldiers patrolled their borders, and Roman culture slowly crept into Germanic society. But many chieftains resented the erosion of their traditions and independence. Among the tribes, quiet alliances began to form. Old rivals set aside their feuds, whispering of resistance. The forests were alive with secret meetings, where war chiefs plotted how to strike back against the arrogant invaders in their midst. At the heart of these secret councils was Arminius. His Roman training made him invaluable to the tribes, while his loyalty to Germania burned fiercely. Soon, he would lead his people in a rebellion that would shake the foundations of Roman power. Arminius was born into the Cherusci tribe, one of the many Germanic clans resisting Rome's advance. As a boy, he witnessed both the pride of his people and their vulnerability. Like many tribal elites, he was sent to Rome, a pawn in the empire's grand strategy. In Rome, Arminius received military training and citizenship. He studied Roman warfare, tactics, and leadership. Rising to the rank of equestrian and auxiliary officer, he gained the trust of Roman commanders. But beneath the surface, his loyalty to Germania never wavered. Arminius mastered the art of deception. His Roman allies saw him as a loyal servant of the empire, a model of Germanic assimilation. Yet secretly, he burned with resentment for the humiliation his people endured under Roman occupation and exploitation. His unique position allowed him to understand both worlds. He studied Roman weaknesses, their reliance on roads, their fear of dense forests, and their rigid formations unsuited for chaotic terrain. Quietly, he began weaving a web of betrayal, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. By the year 9 AD, Arminius had become an advisor to Governor Verus. The governor trusted him completely, seeing him as a valuable mediator between Rome and the tribes. Verus never suspected that his trusted officer was plotting his downfall. While advising Verus, Arminius secretly rallied the Germanic tribes. He convinced old rivals to unite under a common cause: liberation from Roman rule. His knowledge of Roman movements and strategies made him the ideal architect of rebellion. The stage was set. Arminius, the trusted Roman officer, would soon reveal his true loyalties. In the shadows of Germania's forests, he prepared the most devastating ambush in Roman military history, a betrayal that would echo for centuries. In September of 9 AD, 3 Roman legions, led by Governor Verus, marched deep into the Teutoburg Forest. Arminius had warned of a tribal uprising ahead. Unaware of his betrayal, Verus trusted him completely, leading his soldiers into the heart of the dark, tangled woods. The weather turned against the Romans. Heavy rain soaked the ground, turning paths to mud. Supply wagons bogged down, and the long marching column stretched dangerously thin. Legionaries, weighed down by armor, struggled to stay in formation as the towering trees closed around them. Suddenly, from the shadows, the Germanic tribes attacked. Spears and arrows rained down from concealed positions. The Romans, trapped between thick forests and swampy ground, couldn't form their usual defensive lines. Panic rippled through the ranks as chaos replaced discipline. The ambush was relentless. Germanic warriors, familiar with every path and hiding place, struck swiftly before disappearing into the woods. Roman officers shouted commands, but visibility was poor. Exhausted and disoriented, the mighty legions were reduced to vulnerable, isolated groups. The first day was a slaughter. Hundreds of Romans fell beneath tribal spears and axes. By nightfall, battered survivors tried to regroup. But the forest offered no shelter, only terror. Rain poured, fires sputtered, and morale collapsed under the weight of fear. Over the next 2 days, the massacre continued. Arminius led the tribes with ruthless precision. Roman escape routes were cut off. Cavalry units were overwhelmed. By the final day, the once proud legions were annihilated. Nearly 20,000 Roman soldiers lay dead among the trees. Governor Verus, realizing the disaster, chose death over capture. With his own sword, he ended his life. His defeat marked not only personal ruin but the worst military catastrophe Rome had suffered in generations. News of the Teutoburg disaster traveled slowly but struck Rome like a thunderbolt. The loss of 3 entire legions was unthinkable. For an empire built on military pride, the ambush was more than a battlefield defeat, it was a shattering blow to Roman invincibility. Emperor Augustus was devastated. Historical sources claim that upon hearing the news, he tore his robes in grief and cried out, "Quintilius Verus, give me back my legions." The loss haunted him for the rest of his life, a bitter reminder of Roman vulnerability. The psychological shock rippled through Roman society. Panic gripped the frontier provinces. Rumors spread of Germanic hordes preparing to storm across the Rhine and invade Roman territory. Border defenses were hastily reinforced, and legions were rushed to the frontier to prevent further disaster. The military consequences were severe. The 17th, 18th, and 19th legions were never reformed. Their numbers were considered cursed, a lasting reminder of humiliation. Rome also tightened recruitment and training, realizing that complacency had allowed such a catastrophe to occur. The political fallout was equally harsh. Roman governors faced stricter oversight. Expansionist ambitions in Germania were immediately curbed. The empire, so used to conquest, now faced the sobering reality that not all lands could be tamed with swords and discipline. For the Germanic tribes, it was a moment of triumph. The myth of Roman invincibility was shattered. Though Rome would strike back in later years, Germania remained fiercely independent. The Teutoburg victory inspired generations to resist imperial domination. Despite Rome's resilience, the defeat at Teutoburg Forest exposed the cracks in the empire's armor. It forced Rome to retreat, reevaluate, and accept that even the greatest power could bleed. The forest had humbled an empire thought untouchable. The disaster at Teutoburg Forest reshaped Rome's ambitions forever. The empire, known for unstoppable expansion, now faced a harsh truth: some lands could never be fully conquered. The dense forests and fierce tribes of Germania remained an unconquered barrier beyond the Rhine. In the years following the defeat, Rome launched retaliatory campaigns. Generals like Germanicus sought vengeance, burning villages and slaughtering tribes. They recovered lost standards and won battles. But despite these victories, Rome never re-established permanent control deep into Germania. The empire drew a new line: the Rhine River became Rome's frontier. Beyond it lay the untamed world of the Germanic tribes. Instead of pushing further east, Rome focused on securing its borders and consolidating the territories it already possessed. The psychological scars of Teutoburg endured. The defeat became a cautionary tale whispered among Roman generals and politicians. It reminded them of arrogance, of underestimating enemies, and of the merciless consequences that overconfidence could bring upon even the mightiest empire. For the Germanic tribes, Teutoburg was more than a battle. It was proof that unity and cunning could overcome empire. Though tribal rivalries returned, the memory of defeating Rome inspired future resistance against invaders for centuries to come. Historians still debate the full consequences of Teutoburg. Some argue it prevented Rome from reshaping Europe entirely. Had Germania fallen, Latin culture and Roman governance might have extended deep into the heart of the continent, forever altering history. But the forest had its say. In the mists of Teutoburg, Roman ambition met its match. The greatest empire of the ancient world was reminded that nature, pride, and the human spirit could still defy its legions. Thanks for watching The Forgotten Past. If you enjoyed the journey, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a hidden story or untold truth. New discoveries await. See you in the next video.